and welcome to Qatar 365, the show that offers a fresh outlook on Doha and the surrounding neighbourhoods with me, Miranda Atty. On this special episode of the show, we're taking a deep dive into the role art will play in Qatar during the FIFA World Cup.
Coming up, some of the most famous football shirts in the world go on display here in Qatar, and we discover how the country's becoming an open-air arts museum.
The 321 Qatar Olympic and Sports Museum showcases a wide variety of memorabilia, from Muhammad Ali's boxing gloves to racing legend Michael Schumacher's Ferrari. And with the World Cup just around the corner, we sent Adil Halim to check out a brand new football-centric exhibition.
Just ahead of the FIFA World Cup, the 321 Qatar Olympic and Sports Museum has kicked off a special exhibition aptly titled World of Football. The exhibit is presented in two parts to represent a game played in two halves. It starts by examining the global appeal of the beautiful game, from the streets to the stadium.
In the first half, we've got the origins, we've got the who plays, we've got the laws. We've also got some stories about some of the greatest players in the game as well, including some of their shirts, which is pretty exciting. We've got some great film and action from the World Cup. We've got a section on fans and how fans support their team, and also a bit on, what is it that makes this game so popular the world over.
And with the world coming to Qatar, the second half of the exhibition chronicles the country's path to the World Cup.
The Road to Doha section really explains the making of the 2022 World Cup, but it starts from 1930, which is the first World Cup in Uruguay. So from there, we have a section that is dedicated to showcasing at least two objects from every World Cup from 1930 till 2018. And then obviously each poster from 1930 till 2022. So that will be kind of an interesting, you can see the evolution of the World Cup in terms of graphic design, in terms of the small things like the tickets, the posters. And then we go into the history of football in Qatar. So it's been about a 40-year run of history of football in Doha, with some exciting highlights, including when Pelé visited Doha in 1973 and played against the oldest football club in Doha, Al-Ahli.
Alia Khalid Al Qatar vividly remembers when Qatar won the bid to host the World Cup.
Actually, it was in my last year of high school when we won the bid. So it's interesting now being the head of exhibitions in the Sports Museum and experiencing it firsthand, hosting the World Cup. It's so exciting. It was the most exciting feeling. I think everyone, not just Qataris, but everyone living here has this sense of loyalty towards the country and was super excited that we're the first Middle Eastern country to host the World Cup.
The 321 Museum opened its doors earlier this year. As part of its permanent collection, the museum owns 16,000 sports-related objects and has loaned out another 3,000 pieces. The Hall of Athletes is a celebration of 90 athletes from across the world, representing a number of international sports. From boxing gloves worn by the iconic Muhammad Ali to a game-worn shirt of football great Pelé, and even a Ferrari driven by racing legend Michael Schumacher. It's fair to say this space is reserved for legends only.
The athletes, they tell their stories and they inspire the visitors, and we are really happy to see all the young generation. They are visiting the museum, and they are hopefully that in one day they will make it to this museum in the Hall of Athletes.
Abdullah Yusuf Al-Mullah says what makes it especially inspirational is that sports in Qatar began from humble beginnings. Traditional games like falconry, pearl diving, and camel racing, to hosting international sporting competitions like the World Cup.
This museum is not only for Qatar. Okay, it is based on Qatar, but it is actually for the whole Arab world. Okay, this is the first one in the Middle East, space-wise. We have 19,000 square meters, and it's attracting a lot of people from outside of Qatar.
Continuing with the football match analogy, we're now into extra time and find ourselves in the history in the making section. As the name suggests, this area will continue to grow as new historic milestones are recorded.
We're actually going to collect artefacts as the World Cup progresses. So we don't know what those stories are yet. Every World Cup throws up stories. It might be a particular red card from a particular referee. It might be the ball from a game in which the greatest goal in that tournament was scored. It might be a shirt. It might even be a bit of fan memorabilia that some fan has brought along to the stadium. That's the exciting thing.
This collection, you hardly can find it around the world. And here it comes under one roof. You have all of them here. So it makes me proud of my country.
The 321 Museum received 98,000 visitors in its first 4 months of operation and is targeting 500,000 visitors by the end of the World Cup.
The best art is immersive. It can inspire, educate, perhaps even enlighten us. But there aren't too many places in the world where art is accessible for everyone. Qatar is trying to change that. Ahead of the World Cup tournament, the country's doubled down on its commitment to public art.
From the moment you arrive at Hamad International Airport, there's art to be seen. Whether it's Kaur's oversized sculpture, Tom Claessen's falcon, the national bird of Qatar, or even the instantly recognizable yellow bear, it's clear that in 2022, Qatar's inviting you to be part of an artistic conversation.
I think it's something that resonates with a lot of us, and a lot of it means you can just interact with it, you can experience it, and it's all about having your own interpretation. So I think for Qatar and art, I think it's a great way to encourage dialogue. It's a great way to activate different parts of the city and activate areas of the city that might not necessarily have arts in, where you bring that in and allow people to kind of engage with that easily.
And that dialogue extends far beyond the airport. Public art pieces in classic locations like the National Museum bring the country's history to life. The French artist Roch Vendromme's On Their Way, 4 camels nestled in the shadows of the Desert Rose building, evoke a historic nomadic lifestyle. Simone Fatale's Gates to the Sea, with its petroglyphs of boats and fish, references the nation's close relationship with the ocean. Some of the art is designed to be functional, while some simply brightens up a busy street. And with the World Cup in mind, sculptures have been placed at Qatar's iconic football stadiums. The ship, by Qatari artist Faraj Daham, stands 10 meters high. Located at the Al Janoub Stadium, which in shape was inspired by traditional dhow boats, it's yet another reminder of the connection to the sea. The mesh facade at the Ahmed bin Ali Stadium is an art piece itself.
So the design choices was talking to the theme of the region, so this is close to the desert. And the symbols of the facade of the mesh have been selected from that region. So you have the desert rose, you have the native flora and fauna, which represents one symbol. You have the shield, which represents the strength of the region. So all these symbols have a very distinct and specific meaning for that region. And that's going to be the design language of the stadium for the region.
The stadium was rebuilt for the Qatar 2022 World Cup using 80% of the materials from the deconstruction of the old Ahmed bin Ali Stadium. What's really interesting, though, is the remaining materials were recycled and repurposed into public art installations on display throughout the country during the tournament.
Steel structures have been used for public art, so there was artists, they have selected old materials from the stadium, they have integrated into the art projects which are available in Qatar. And you can see the stadium still as part of their future art.
Layla Bacha, art specialist for Qatar Foundation, stands in front of another piece commissioned specially for the World Cup, Come Together. Designed to be seen by fans visiting the Education City Stadium, it was created by Korean artist Choi Jwang-ha.
The artist was invited to come to Qatar 2 years ago, just right before the COVID. And he was inspired by Qatar in general. So the shape is like a dandelion, that is made of 100 legs specifically, and those legs are made out of football balls, very colorful, that attracts the attention, and also to keep his visual identity of using recycling materials, he chose to have a Qatari kitchenware recycled and added to this artwork.
The whole Education City campus is full of unexpected art. But it's not just international artists. Azan, by Qatari artist Sheikh Hassan bin Mohammed Al Thani, focuses on women's empowerment. And over in Lusail, Sarah Lawler shows me the surprising piece Igal by Shukal Mana. It depicts the traditional headwear worn by Qatari men on a huge scale.
It's been over 2 years now working with her, and it's been a great kind of experience to see a local artist turning something from paper into a sculpture that people can experience, people can walk around, people can touch as well. I think it instigates a lot of people to ask, what is it, if they're not quite familiar with the culture? And that's really the essence of public art. It's about encouraging dialogue, making people question and think and kind of be curious about what the work is.
Whether at the metro, a public roundabout, or in the middle of the desert, more than 100 public art pieces will be scattered throughout the country before the World Cup kicks off, making art truly part of everyday life.
By creating what amounts to an open-air museum, Qatar's making sure art is accessible to everyone. And that is all we have time for on this episode. But as always, if you have any questions, just reach out via our hashtag Qatar365. Thanks for watching. Do check out Euronews.com for more. And join us again next time on Qatar365.